For the last 14 odd years, 12 of them have been in a journey where it is very similar to what you and I would experience on a daily basis. Funded startups and this intensity, this hustle culture, fail fast, all those cliches that get thrown at us, which we may not even have built on our own. We just learned it from some other. ये अच्छा लग रहा है, इसको करना चाहिए. And I was part of that machinery for the longest time until I realized it works for some people, but it doesn't work for some. And when it doesn't work for some, it's very hard to identify कि वो क्यों और कहाँ गलत हुआ. So I'll give you the story of Nearby, which I don't think I've ever shared this in such detail publicly as I would today. Nearby raised money from Sequoia, and it was an enviable first check of $17 million. The first ever check that Sequoia cuts for Nearby is $17 million. And in my head, it was lower than what we should have raised. And everyone else was like, what? $17 million तुम्हें पहले check में मिल गए? And then I made a cluster of mistakes as the founder, chasing growth, ignoring profitability, becoming part of this hustle culture, becoming part of this tribe, attending such events, and no offense to TechSparks and you and what you do all commendably, but just this cocoon, जहाँ ना एक कुएं के मेंढक बन जाते हैं और हमें लगता है कि यही दुनिया है और इसके बाहर कोई दुनिया नहीं है और किसी को अगर टेक की दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है नहीं पता है तो वो एक लूजर है, वो एक 9 to 5 के ग्राइंड में अपने ज़मीर को बेच चुका है. And no, if you're not a founder, you're not the cool person. And I was drinking my own Kool-Aid in that sense. Kool-Aid is also a very VC term, which I figured while in the conversations with VCs. And here's what happened. Nearby was operating in a market which is completely a function of the growth of disposable income in this country. It was discretionary spends, restaurants, spa, salons, movie halls, entertainment zones, blah, blah, blah. And wahan, the growth was nearly not as much to provide for the exponential ambition that we would have had or sold to a VC. Because we were like, hey, we're going to become a unicorn, and जल्दी होने वाला है, आपको wait करना नहीं पड़ेगा, 100 million पे ये funding हो गई है, तो बस थोड़े ही महीनों में 1 billion होने वाला है, and we will all party. But clearly that wasn't happening. And when it wasn't happening, I saw a very different side of this capital raising trend, which again has nothing to do with investors and how good or bad they are. They are not in the business of building businesses. They are in the business of entering and exiting businesses. That's how they make their money. And that is credit to them doing it so commendably well with all the risks that they have to take. And we recently had yesterday a big calamity in the crypto world. But the truth is, they will eventually exit you. And they would only hope that they do it on favorable terms. But even if it doesn't, they will still exit. Now what happens is, if you are not growing as per the dreams that you've sold, it will never be a really nice, happy conversation. So Nearby at its peak was doing $100 million of sales and was profitable, but was a failure. Because we were not a unicorn, which is what we had sold as a dream, both to ourselves as founders and as well as to our investors. But if any other day someone were to tell me that we do 600 to 700 crores of sales a year and profitably, I would give my right arm and left leg to be an owner of that business. Yeah. But here, every single day, I felt like a loser because I hadn't made money for my employees, for my investors, definitely not for ourselves. And that was just a reality check. It was like, we hear this story and we hear this survivorship bias, जहाँ unicorn आ चुका है, secondary हो चुकी है, गाड़ियाँ, बंगले सब खरीद लिए हैं, and everything is kosher. But we will very rarely hear about the big disasters that happen, not in terms of funding being lost, but people never even getting to that position where they're spoken of because they weren't hitting that. And that's why I was very clear that's not the game I want to play. I want to play it on my terms. And that's why what I'm building right now is singularly diametrically opposite to what I've done for the last 12 years.